Yeah, I gotta bring the show back because the Japan's putting out a new movie next year. So,
Uh,
okay.
This week's episode of Here's What I Don't Get is brought to you in part by RNN's election coverage. RNN's election coverage. Nobody fucking cares. I should have had the theme. Hello and welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get, from north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network, your number one source for election night coverage. I'm your host, Tab Burt. With me today from Hack the Movies, it's Tony.
Hello, Tab. Oh my God, the results are coming in. I'm so excited to see who won what.
Yeah, man, you know what I'm really excited about, Tony, in this election coverage? I'm really excited for tomorrow when every app, every person I know, every fucking sign on the side of the highway stops saying, go out and vote.
Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm excited for all the meltdown footage. I'm sure we're going to be in there. You know, if our candidate loses, we're going to scream. What's his face? Dame Pesos. He's going to include us in his montage of people breaking down.
Yeah, it's just intolerable. I'm so tired of hearing about elections. The thing that really it annoys me about the elections, though, is that everyone who's like posting on their Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook and all this shit, like, go out and vote. It's important. Early vote, vote, have not voted at any of the half dozen elections that have happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's just like, leave me alone. Leave me alone, please.
Yeah. I actually started voting less. I used to vote all the time, but I'm like an actual person who like researches the candidates. And if I don't like research the candidates, I usually just don't vote. And I just been too busy. I haven't had time to research anyone. So I'm literally the devil and everyone should cancel me, according to the internet.
Oh, I'm even worse than I must be Hitler. If you're the devil, then I'm Hitler, because not only did I not vote because of not doing research on the candidates, I don't want to vote. I have no interest in voting. I don't want to be part of the system at all. I'm just going to be a person. I'm tempted to go commit a felony so that I can just be removed of the burden of needing to vote.
Imagine that, like, hey, Tab, get out and vote. Actually, I can't vote. I committed a felony. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, is your state a swing state?
No, neither Missouri nor Oklahoma was ever.
Dude, Pennsylvania's a swing state, so we just get non-stop spam texts from both sides.
Yeah.
It just never ends.
That's why I'm not even going to register in Missouri, because the second you register, whichever party you register as, you just get like all these fucking flyers in the mail. Janine Garofalo talking about integrity, and you're just like, oh boy, I hope that goes right in the fucking trash can. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, every vote counts, everyone.
Yeah,
we're voting. I'm gonna have the PA results up here. Hold on.
Every vote counts, but some votes are more equal than others.
Yes, I'm gonna fill you guys in on the election results. None of them are in yet. So
yeah. Breaking news. With 7% of precincts reporting, John Fetterman is in the lead. There are 93% of votes still yet to be counted and even tallied. We'll be continuing to talk about this nonstop for the next 4.5 hours.
It'll never end.
Yeah. Well, aside from voting, Tony, how was your Halloween?
My Halloween was great, actually. Me and one of my co-hosts, we went to a nice little town around here that has basically like a huge block party. They like shut down this long ass street, and you know, kids are trick-or-treating. The people go all out with their houses. One house, like, they just turned their house into the pirate ship from Pirates of the Caribbean. Obviously, it didn't look as nice, but they had like cannons on their deck and everything. And I've lived near this thing for years, and I had no idea they did this. So it was actually really nice. How was your Halloween?
I had a good Halloween. I went out with some other people
Mm,
to a costume contest. My boss won. I think someone would complain because I was talking about the Halloween party I went to last week, and
yeah.
someone was like, he was about to say what his boss's Halloween costume was, and then Buck interrupted him, and the answer is Tanya Harding. I know you've been waiting a week to hear that. That was the big winner.
Tanya
But
Harding. That's a very timely reference. But
it
okay.
is. It is. She was in ice skates and everything. It was impressive. So we this weekend though, I went and took a weekend intensive glass blowing course
Yeah.
at a local university, and holy shit, was it the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. It's kind of fun because you're like, I did the two classes beforehand, but that were much more geared towards like making a thing, and this was
Mhm.
much more geared towards like, here's the fundamentals of doing it.
Yeah.
And there was like 7 people in the class. 5 of them had taken a 6-week course that was
Yeah.
like 2 nights a week, or maybe it was 1 night a week for 6 weeks. And then there were 2 of us that hadn't taken that course, and so they put the 2 of us that had not taken that course together at one station, and they put the other 5 people at another station. So while they were making more technically complex pieces, we were like working on fundamentals, and it was just like he would do something, it would take about half an hour, and then I would do something, it would take about half an hour.
Mm.
7 hours of just like one after another doing something. We did way more work than the other people, and I was like, frankly, I feel bad for those folks. But I made the first. This is the first piece that I made 100% on my own, from sticking the
Okay.
pipe into the molten glass in the furnace, to shaping it up in blocks, to heating it, reheating it, blowing it into
Yeah.
a bubble, opening it up, and I call this piece
Okay.
the perfect old-fashioned glass. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, I want to see it. Okay. that's the perfect old fashioned glass, Tab.
It is the perfect old-fashioned glass. Mark 1.
Okay, so there's gonna be other ones. All right.
Yeah. So I have this. I don't have.
Are you gonna have them in a big cabinet like Iron Man when
Yes,
you're done?
exactly, with a little plaque underneath each one, like maybe the date that it was made. I have a design for what I'm calling the perfect old-fashioned glass. I don't have my
Yeah.
sketchbook, or I'd show you, but essentially, it's a standard old-fashioned glass like this one,
Yeah.
with the thick bottom. But mine will be bigger than this, so that it can hold a great big ass old-fashioned.
Okay.
It will have what looks like an iceberg made into the bottom of it to
Okay.
let your stuff spin around and
Yeah.
agitate it, so you get a really nice mixture. And then when I've blown the bubble, so I'll have to take this iceberg and stick it into the made cup and
Yeah.
stick it to the bottom, and then I'll take that whole thing and I will dip the bottom of it into water for half a second,
Yeah.
and the whole bottom of the glass will shatter, but
Okay.
just the skin.
Oh, okay.
The bottom will be shattered, and it'll have this like so that's the final plan. It's going to take me a while to like develop all the skills I need to execute that perfectly, which is why this is a Mark 1.
Okay.
Someday.
Well, it's really impressive, Tab.
Thank you. I had so much fun. It's funny because you're like, you're working with this ball of molten glass at the end of like a 5-foot long pipe, and I'm like working with this, and I'm thinking, who the fuck ever thought this was a good idea?
Yeah.
It's like,
how do these things get started? Where it's just like, I don't
it
want to.
started in ancient Egypt.
Yeah. What
In
were they
ancient Egypt, they were like, we're going to get this fire super duper hot. We're going to put some sand in this box and melt it into a liquid glass. Then we're going to hold it at the end of a stick and turn it into stuff. Like, that's insane.
Whoever thought to be like, hey, let's just put a bunch of sand on fire and see what happens.
Yeah, but it was a ton of fun. I made some paperweights. I made lots of cups. That's kind of where you start, is making in cups. And so this was the last piece that I made at the end of day 1. And then there are some pieces I made in day 2 that were like a lot better, even, just 7 hours later. So
a lot better than the perfect old fashioned glass.
A lot better. So I'm going back on Wednesday for another session, and then and I'll be able to pick up some of those pieces. I'll probably post some photos in Instagram. The person I was working with took photos of me working, because I'm really bad
I saw those.
Yeah, I'm really bad about taking photos while I'm doing things. So he took all these photos and then sent them to me, and I was like, oh, I can like show that I did something, because 90% of the time I'm just like, focused on what I'm doing and thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, I should have taken a picture of this.
You're like, yeah, I did something. They're like, yeah, sure you did.
Sure you did. Sure you did.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great time. I really, really enjoyed myself.
Oh,
I'm hoping
sorry,
to take
getting
more
back to
classes.
Halloween. I saw you liked my costume.
Yeah. You dressed as me.
Oh, wait, you? I thought I was dressed as Maddox. I saw your post, like, I can't believe someone dressed up like me. And I'm like, oh, that's son of a bitch. Yeah, I guess that is a little closer.
Look at me. I am the Maddox now. There is no Maddox. Maddox is dead. George is in his place. George doesn't dress like that.
Yeah. Oh, did I show you? I'm mad that someone walked in front of the picture and we didn't know till later, but I found a guy in a banana suit.
That's pretty funny.
I took a picture with him and I'm like, me and this stranger had a matching costume. And I'm like, only Dick Show fans will get that.
It should be Andrew Bircher, Stuttering Tabs, Beer in the Basement. It should be Brews in the Basement.
Yeah, Brews.
Having brews, yeah. Can't.
Anyway. Stuttering John, isn't he done? Isn't he retiring?
He has like he's purged his YouTube channel. He's like put his page. He waited until November's charge went through, and then he put his Patreon on hold through the end of the year. He's like, yeah, we're on hiatus now. Don't worry about it. It's like everybody just got charged for this month, you jackass. And so I suspect it's because he's moving back to Long Island.
Yeah.
And
near John Breaks Bad News.
Yeah, he wants to try and like starve the internet of his content. But the thing is, like, so Shuli started a show or like a sub segment of the Uncle Rico show where he's just showing clips from like back in the day when John was on the Howard Stern show. And go figure, this retard acted like a retard 20 years ago too.
Yeah.
So like
I love when they like every time he's like, you can't say that, it's offensive. They're making fun of these people, and then they find a clip of him just being super racist and shit. It's like, all right, John, maybe don't just call other people out when you have like decades of footage like documenting that you did the same thing.
Yeah, it's like when Maddox did the whole thing with Dick and being like, "Oh, he was a rapist," and it's like you wrote a book in your chapter in your book called "How to Like Copping a Feel" with a how-to guide. You giant jackass.
Well, remember that? No, he did that. He was making fun of Dick for like rape jokes, and then he was doing a show with Rucka Rucka Ali, who had a song called "I Want to Rape," and people are like, "Yeah, but your current co-host does that," and he was just like, "Blah blah blah."
I don't know who you're trying to call here.
He's like, "No, Rucka's more famous, so it's okay." It's like, all right.
Sorry, Mr. Maddox, no here. Well, I hate that guy.
But yeah.
Anyway,
so that's our updates. Halloween was fun. You blew some things, so you know we're up
I
speed.
did. I'm a master blower. Anyway, well, as people know, November is No Hate November. So this month, instead of doing don't gets, we're exclusively doing do gets to show how thankful we are for all the things that are happening in life. Yeah. And Tony, what is your do get this week?
Well, my do get might be a little controversial, Tab. But here's what I do get. Representing yourself in court. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, it's your right to represent yourself in court. And for some reason, these evil lawyers don't want you defending yourself when you have the most to lose. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows more about what happened that you're being accused of than you, because you were there.
Yeah.
You know everything that happened.
Wait, sorry, Tony. Yeah. Allegedly you were there.
Allegedly. You know if you were allegedly
maybe you weren't there.
Maybe you weren't there, and that's part of your defense. And obviously, this got a lot of attention recently because of the Darrell Brooks trial. I don't know if you watched any of that.
Just caught like the clips on social media.
Yes. You know, he is a sovereign citizen. Who I agree with that movement. Don't you, Tab?
Oh yeah, I love the sovereign citizens. I identify as not being American, thus my not voting.
Yes. So you know, Darrell Brooks, when he had lawyers, they were trying to get him to plead like not guilty. They tried to get him to plead the insanity plea. Which, I mean, you're definitely going to do jail time if you do that. That's basically saying you did it. They didn't have, oh, good, we got a cat cam. They didn't have his best interests in mind, Tab. So luckily he defended himself and he fired his lawyers. And he pled not guilty because, again, he was there. He knows. He knows he's not guilty. So yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out for him. I think the judge had it out for him. I mean, sure, there was a picture of him clear as day in the driver's seat, just plowing through people.
Look, it's 2022.
Yeah,
Photoshop is a just amazing
it
thing.
Could have been a Photoshop. It could have been a Photoshop. Now, he actually knew the law better than some other lawyers. He knew that he had the right to face of his accuser. So he kept asking for the state of Wisconsin to come to the stand. And they shot it down every time. I think he's going to win his appeal. I think it was totally reasonable for the entire state of Wisconsin to fit into that tiny courtroom so he could see who his accuser was. They tried to argue something that it was like the lawyers represent the entity of the state of Wisconsin, but that's all legal jargon meant to confuse people.
It's meant to confuse the common man.
It's meant to confuse the common man. Now, I went back and I found another guy who represented himself in court, because you'll never believe this, Tab, but this happens a lot. So this gentleman, now, you ever see the opening statement in the trial?
Yes.
It's always the lawyers going like, hey, the evidence, this is how we think it happened. The evidence is going to do this, blah, blah, blah. The jury's falling asleep. The jury is falling asleep. So this guy, Ronnie O'Neill, he was alleged of murdering his girlfriend and daughter and almost killing his son. He decided to represent himself, and he had a great opening statement. He knew how to keep the jury awake and to pay attention to him. I'm going to send you the clip right now. And you can just play like the first minute of this. You get the point.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Present, share screen,
Mm-hmm.
Brave tab, double murder suspect, share. Here we go.
Okay. So this is open statement.
The evidence is going to show.
Are you hearing that?
Yep.
That we are under some of the most vicious
Okay, you can pause it. I don't know if you noticed, but they turned his mic down because they didn't expect him to scream at everyone in the courtroom. But look, if I'm on the jury, right? And I'm like, this guy's representing himself and he's screaming to make sure we know he's serious. You're gonna believe them, right?
Yeah, of course.
Compared to a lawyer who's like, oh, my client might not have been there. It might have been okay. Now, the one thing you get to do when you represent yourself is you get to question the witnesses directly, Tab.
Yes.
So you know what questions to ask them. So Ronnie O'Neill had to question his son, who he may or may not have stabbed. And I'm going to send you this clip and show you how that went. Sorry, I should have prepared you more with the links.
Wrong thing.
Hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
I did. And how did I hurt you?
You stabbed me.
Okay, pause. You know,
And investigators have said.
You see, one of the downside is, I guess you can't coach your witnesses like the other side does. But Ronnie O'Neill, obviously, he knew he didn't stab him, or else why else would he ask that specific question? And again, if I'm on the jury, I'm just like, well, there's no way a man who clearly stabbed their son would ask their son, "Did I stab you?" Because clearly the son will say yes. So I think there was more to the story. Now,
Your Honor, I'm clearly a lunatic.
unfortunately, Tab, this might shock you. Things didn't work out well for Ronnie O'Neal. But he made sure in his closing statement, okay. So again, he was accused of murdering his girlfriend. But the prosecution, they were embellishing the story. They were adding stuff to it. So here's part of his closing statement. Again, he pled not guilty. Here's the final part of his closing statement.
Why, when I press pause before the video buffers, does it still decide to fucking play the video in son
I
of a
don't know.
bitch?
Okay.
Call Khalil Brown to tell you that I did. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because I want you to know the actual facts.
The facts.
I did kill Kenyatta Band.
Well, wait.
I want you to tell it like it is if you're going to tell it.
Okay, so pause there. Okay, so you know, I guess he killed her. But I think his thing was that it was self-defense, and that damn prosecution, those lawyers with all their legal mumbo jumbo, they were trying to make it seem like it was a murder. And he is in his closing statement going like, "Hey, I did kill her, but you're getting all the facts wrong about how I killed her."
Jeez.
So yeah, and look, I actually defended myself in court once. Some shady mechanic put fake inspection stickers on my car, and I got pulled over for it. So I went to traffic court, and look, Tab, I defended myself and I won. So just because it worked for me, I think everyone should defend themselves in court. So, and I don't like this movement that it's being frowned upon, that you're not allowed to represent yourself in court. I think people need to know their rights, and they're being lied to, saying that, hey, you can't represent yourself. You can't represent yourself. And I think that's totally misleading. And as you can see,
Isn't Podcast Hitman representing himself?
That's the first I'm hearing about it, and I want nothing more than for that trial to be televised.
Well, I mean, he admitted too.
Yeah. So that's what I do get. Defending yourself in court. I think it's a great idea. You know all the facts of what happened or didn't happen. So who better to trust?
Well, Tony, I hate to shit on your problem or your do get.
My do get.
It's not a problem because problems are not part of the show.
No.
I hate to shit on your do get, but I don't think the issue is so much you not knowing what happened.
Okay.
I think the issue in representing yourself is that the law is such a convoluted mass of bullshit that you need to hire a professional who speaks bullshit to kind of speak the bullshit on your behalf and save you from the full consequences.
No, see, that's what I think ruined the court system. Letting these lawyers come in here and corrupt
I don't
it.
disagree with you.
I think we need just God-fearing Americans knowing their God-given rights, defending themselves in court at all times. That way the people can hear the truth finally, and we'll get this country back on track.
Do you think that the success of Better Call Saul has contributed to people because the speeches in Better Call Saul are incredible. The bullshittery that he's doing, the bait and switch he's getting, it's all fascinating. And I think people watch that show and they're like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah, and you can. You obviously can. You obviously can. Hey, Tab, I won in court, okay? Was it because I got rid of my car that the fake inspection stickers were on and I got a new car so they couldn't prove I was still driving around in a with a car with the fake inspection stickers? I don't know. Maybe there wasn't enough evidence for them to charge me because I got rid of the evidence. But I defended myself, and I think more people need to try this. Lawyers are expensive. That's where half your money goes. You get to keep a lot of the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do get, Tab.
Well, that's a good do get.
It's a great do get, isn't it?
I-
It is.
the-
It isn't. It is, Tab. It's not like a few weeks ago I was like, oh, this would be a good I don't get, and then you're like, oh, we're doing do gets, and I didn't just change it and make a sarcastic thing. I honestly believe this.
So let's get this straight. Maybe you had a don't get that you turned into a do get, and Uncle Buck had a don't get that he turned into a do get. So the only person that's really bringing in do gets is me.
What are you talking about? No, I
Make
brought in a
that
do
fully
get. I
clear.
said I didn't take a do get and turn it in, don't get and turn it into a do get.
Would you
Okay.
testify to that in court?
I will testify to that in court. And I
The
don't know. The thing with Daryl Brooks, sometimes lawyers will let other lawyers talk and cross-examine the witness. When you do that, people can say things that can hurt you. And Daryl Brooks was smart enough to know to just object anytime anyone said anything. Anytime a word came out of a lawyer's mouth, he'd just be like, I object because of this. I object because of that.
Have you ever seen the movie I Love You, Philip Morris?
Yes,
I love that movie. It's one of my
it's really good.
it's in my top 20 movies. And so in the plot of I Love You, Philip Morris, Jim Carrey plays Steven something,
Yeah.
who is a gay con man.
Yeah.
And he goes to prison, he meets Ewan McGregor, Philip Morris, and then he tells Philip Morris that he's a lawyer, and he gets Philip Morris's sentence reduced.
Mhm.
And then they get out and he meets this woman, this friend of theirs, and he's like, oh, Steven's a lawyer, he can help you in this like small claims that she has going on. And they go into court and he is just getting the shit kicked out of him in the thing. He's like, I'd like to speak in chambers. And they go into chambers and he's like dressed as Matlock or some shit.
Yeah.
And he unloads this whole thing of bullshit against the opposing counsel. He's like, now I may have gone to a small school, but I passed the same bar exam that this man did, and I will not stand for what he's doing to this woman in court. And the judge goes, what are you getting at? And he goes, oh, I think you know what I'm getting at. And there's this long pause.
Yeah.
And he's just like sweating out the bullshit. And then the judge goes like, are you getting at? And he lists some court case. And he looks at the opposing counsel, who now looks mortified. And Jim Carrey goes, that's exactly what I'm talking about, sir. And like, he totally conned his way into fucking fixing this trial. And that is what people think is going to happen when they go, top 20, that falls under good, but not great. My top 10 are all like amazing movies.
Yes.
That's why I say it's top 20, because it's like, it's not Terminator 2. It's not Lady Killers. It's not Rhinestone. Like it's not worthy of the top 5, the top 10,
Obviously.
but it's definitely in the top 20.
So
it's up there with The Birdcage. The Birdcage is probably top 10.
I want to
and
rewatch
I Love You, Philip
Birdcage.
Morris is just below that.
Yeah. Some other famous people who've represented themselves in court. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy fired all his lawyers and he represented himself on court.
That was
Apparently,
really
from
well
what I
done.
read, because he did take some law classes, apparently he started off pretty good, and then I guess his ego got in the way. But you remember the DC sniper?
Yes.
Okay, no one knows why he did what he did. There's theories, but originally he was going to represent himself, and I'm pretty sure we would have found out why he did what he did or didn't do, because we don't know. So he was representing himself, and then they said, hey, the death sentence is a possibility. And then he got scared. He's like, oh, I should probably get some lawyers. But because of that, we'll never know the truth of what happened or why it happened.
Yeah, that's true.
like
I got to
he's-
say, the content out of the Daryl Brooks trial has been just A grade.
I can't stop, I can't stop quoting the judge and him. I can listen to that woman and that guy scream at each other all day long.
My favorite part of his trial is he's like, can you identify the person in the that was driving the SUV? And he goes, yeah, it was Daryl Brooks right there. And he goes, I let the court know I did not identify by that name.
So that's the thing. That's the thing sovereign citizens do. Because when they get like the papers and stuff, like their names are all in caps. So as a gotcha, they're like, sorry, I don't spell my name all in caps. So I am not that person. I don't know that person. I have a capital in the beginning and then lowercase. So that's why they do that. The whole like, no, I don't know anyone by Daryl Brooks, all capital letters. I'm Daryl Brooks, 2 capital letters.
Oh, I catch people on that all the time.
Yeah.
Because my signature is
Mhm.
Tab Burt, right?
Yeah.
Which is not legally speaking my name.
Yeah.
So when there are documents that are signed with my legal name,
Mhm.
I'm like, I didn't sign that.
Yeah.
That's not my fucking signature. I don't sign that name.
That's my name.
That's my slave name.
That used to happen to me in school. So for some reason, like white people, they assume that Antonio is like a browner name, I guess.
Yeah.
So they all just assume my name was Anthony because I guess that's whiter. And I'm just like, Spain and Italy are like right next to each other. There's not much difference. So teachers used to call me Anthony instead of Antonio all the time. And I'd be like, sorry, I don't respond to that. That is not my name. Even if they were looking at me and screaming at me, I would always call them out on it. And that's why I represented myself in court, because I knew how to take on those teachers.
That happened to me a lot. And my first grade teacher refused to call me Tab because she said it was a quote, a made up name. Now, let's be clear. Tab is an ancient Hebrew name. So it's a more real name than any other name. But she refused to call me by it. And she'd be like calling roll. And you watch Batman Beyond, right?
Yeah, I mean, not recently, but yeah.
Yeah, do you remember the episode where the guy that could like manipulate sound waves was fucking with Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, I remember that episode, but not the specifics. I remember the Soundwave guy.
So at the end of that episode, Terry McGinnis is asking Bruce how he knew the voices weren't coming from inside his head. And he says, because the voices kept calling me Bruce. And in my head, I don't call myself that. And with the idea being that in his head, he refers to himself as Batman. In my head, I am not my legal name. Yeah. I don't even identify it. Like, my ex-girlfriend would get mad at me and she would call me by my legal name, thinking that, because, people will sometimes use your middle name when they're mad at you. They'll be like, Tony Hack, the movies, and they'll like throw that in there to try and nail you. I got your middle name in there. You're so mad. But the thing is, like, that name just kind of, my brain just filters it out. Like, they're not talking to me. My name's Tab. And so she would get mad at me and she'd use that name, and I'd just ignore her, but not intentionally, not like I'm going to willfully ignore her. It just like wouldn't faze me the way if someone was like, hey, Jeff, hey, Jeff, hey, Jeff, hey, Jeff. I'd just be like, are you fucking talking to me? My name's not Jeff. The same way that would happen.
That's the same, like,
it would make her even more mad, which was even better.
I remember just my full name would only be said in like school or when my mom was angry at me. That's the only time I ever heard my actual first name until like way later in life.
One of my favorite games in school is like you'd have a substitute teacher, right? And they would give them these printouts that had like your full name in the thing. So whenever the substitute came in, I would always get my legal name read during roll, and it's like I was prepared. Yeah. But one of my favorite things was to go find that sheet, like when the teacher wasn't looking, and start being like, ha, your middle name's Jameel. And we just make fun of people's middle names. That was the game. That was a game in school. Kids don't know how great they have it now with Snapchat and Instagram, boobs at instant access. We had to make fun of middle names.
Yeah.
That was the life. Anyway, well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for...
Episode is brought to you in part by Ricada News Network. Is definitely not fake news.
Well, Tony, I've got some news today. Tony, you're from Italy, right?
I'm not from Italy, but I am Italian.
Okay. Well, I've got some bad news for Italy. Marketed as Italy's #1 brand of pasta, Barilla Pasta is being sued over product being made in Ames, Iowa.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Iowans?
The popular pasta brand will face a lawsuit over allegedly misleading consumers to believe that the products made in the United States were in fact made in the motherland of Italy. It's Ames, Iowa became the home of the company's first U.S. manufacturing facility in 1998. It's undergone several expansions, including a $26 million project in 2015 to expand gluten-free production lines. And a $19 million project in 2019 that expanded their rail yard so they get that pasta into your fucking hole. A federal judge on Monday denied Barilla's motion to dismiss the class action lawsuit accusing the company of misrepresenting its products. The judge found that the company's phrase, Italy's #1 brand of pasta, could mislead consumers to believe the pasta is made in Italy. In addition to the phrase, Barilla features the green, red, and white colors of the Italian flag on the signature blue boxes. In addition to asking the court to stop Barilla from using Italy's likeness and marketing it on the alleged mislabeled products, plaintiffs are seeking monetary compensation, claiming they are overpaid for pasta. Not only is Barilla lying about where it's from, but they're charging too goddamn much.
Look,
And you know what that is, Tony?
What?
It's pasta face.
It is pasta face. It is pasta face. I will not stand for this Italian mockery. I will not stand for it.
Yeah. Barilla did originate as a bread and pasta shop in Italy, but is now based in Illinois. And they
Illinois?
they argue that their trademark is used to invoke the company's Italian roots through generalized representations of the brand as a whole and not mislead buyers. And I just got to say, like, this shit it shouldn't stand. You should not be claiming. And are you shipping this shit to Italy? And they're like, oh, mamma mia, I love it in a box of pasta. No. Now, I will say I do buy almost exclusively Barilla pasta because they have whole wheat in like all the different shapes of pasta.
Look, I usually do that too, but I will no longer be buying those products.
I'm buying twice as many.
I'm going to go to Italy and just buy my pasta from Italy every month.
From some old woman. Some old woman like in her house just like burst in like, give me the goddamn pasta.
I'm gonna go to Tuscany if I can find a house. Apparently there's no houses available in Tuscany. And I'm gonna go there.
See this one.
That was a deep Seinfeld reference for you guys.
Yeah. None of my friends in Missouri watch Seinfeld. Yeah, and so I make Seinfeld references and they're just like, oh really?
A few years ago, I think my co-host Trisha, who's always in and out of Italy, I think she said she wanted to like live in Tuscany. I'm like, but there's no houses available there. Don't even try.
I've got one here from correspondent Dad Cucks.
Okay.
And we're still focusing in Iowa. Iowa teens are accused of brutally beating their Spanish teacher to death with a baseball bat over a bad grade. Did you ever get a bad grade in school?
I've got many bad. I exclusively got bad grades in school.
Did you ever want to beat the teacher to death?
Nah, it was usually my fault. I can't really blame the teacher. It was one of those. Every time I got the bad grade, I'm like, yeah, it was on me. I should have.
I got a bad grade in college in a drawing class because my professor misread all of the. So here's the thing: we were told the final was portfolio day. We were going to bring out all the pieces we had worked on the entire semester. We were going to put them on the walls. Everyone was going to stand around and critique what you did, and then we put them all away, and you get a grade, right?
Yeah.
Day of the fucking final shows up. He gives us this sheet of paper to like write stuff about what we did. I write all this stuff about what I did. It's a fucking 9 a.m. final, by the way.
Yeah.
And then I'm just sitting there waiting to put all my pieces on the wall to be critiqued and judged on what I did. And he says, if you're done, you can leave. And I was like, fucking sweet. I'd really like to go back to bed because it's 9 a.m. and I have like 600 finals.
Yeah.
So they start looking through my portfolio. They can't tell which piece is which. So they just guess. And I got a C on the final, which brought my grade in the class down to a B, which put me not as a 4.0. And yeah. And then when they couldn't figure out what all of my pieces were, they had everyone else in the class put their pieces in order that they were on the sheet that we were filling out. Now, needless to say, I kind of hate that guy. And one day I was walking behind him on the sidewalk and there was nobody around.
Yeah.
And I really contemplated pulling out my knife and stabbing him in the fucking neck.
Allegedly, you contemplated that.
And I still regret not doing it to this day. Fuck Lowell Baker, Lowellbaker, taught at the University of Tulsa, taught at the University of Alabama. Fuck you to death. If I ever fucking see you, I'm gonna fucking stab you right in your fucking motherfucking face. Don't fucking find me. I carry a gun now too, Lowell Baker, you son of a bitch.
Now that was clearly that was a great one-man play you just did. Clearly that is not real. when they eventually bring this up in court, you were clearly acting. You were playing a character. You're playing.
I'll be representing myself, Tony. Don't worry about it. Anyway.
and I was here. I don't know who you're talking about. For all I know, they are a fictional person, and this is a lie. And there's no need to bring me in as a witness. But keep going.
Prosecutors claim that a bad grade in Spanish class may have been what motivated 2 Iowa teens to allegedly murder their 66-year-old teacher. You're 66? Shouldn't be fucking teaching anymore. The 17-year-old suspected killers, Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale, were 16 at the time of the murder, but were tried as adults if convicted for the murder of Nohema Graber. What a terrible name. Definitely not Spanish. Why are you teaching Spanish? They both faced life in prison.
I had to learn Spanish from a soft-spoken, heavily Irish accent guy.
That is hilarious.
And like, why the fuck did they let him teach that? Like, sure, he knows all the words, but he did not know how to like actually say them. But anyway, keep going.
Investigators indicated that Miller met with Graber at the school in the afternoon of November 2nd, 2021, to discuss his poor performance in the Spanish class. Miller later told police that he had been frustrated with the victim's teaching style and with how his poor grade in her class had weighed down his GPA. Mm-hmm. Jefferson County Attorney Chauncey Molding noted in court filings that the poor grade is believed to be the motive behind the murders, which directly connects Miller. After her meeting with Miller, Graber reportedly drove her van to Chautauqua Park off of Minneapolis Road, where she frequently went on walks after school. Des Moines Register reported that video evidence showed Graber leaving the high school and then entering the park at 4 p.m. And then Graber's car was driven out of the park nearly 45 minutes later, followed by a Ford pickup truck. Graber was not, however, behind the wheel. Instead, witnesses claim they saw 2 males in the front seat. The AP reported that Goodale and Miller subsequently got a ride from a witness on a rural road at the end of which Graber's van had been ditched.
Oof.
According to another witness, a male had later pushed a wheelbarrow toward the park around midnight on November 2nd. Miller admitted to the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation that this wheelbarrow was originally from his house. Authorities arrested the teens after an associate of Goodale provided investigators with possibly incriminating social media exchanges on Snapchat. Goodale is said to have bragged on social media, revealing how he and Miller were involved in the planning, execution, and murder of Graber. The alleged social media evidence that Goodale associates provided police indicated the teens had also conducted surveillance on Ms. Graber, detailed the manner in which she was killed, where her body was located, and where the vehicle was located, and how evidence of the crime was disposed of. So these guys are going to jail, and there is attached to the story an editorial from Dad Cucks. It says, "You can tell by the sideburns that these kids are Star Trek fanatics. When will the madness end? These crazed Trekkies must be at the very least shunned, but perhaps best be rounded up and put away somewhere they can only hurt each other. Oh, the humanity, Dad Cucks." And I'm going to see if this will work, but you can see in this photo of them that they do have those like classic Star Trek rounded sideburns.
They really do, yeah.
And if you think about it, they're pretty close to Riverside, Iowa, which is, of course, the future birthplace of James T. Kirk.
Of course.
So yeah, dangerous out there if you're going against a Trekkie.
Tab, I got some news.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania election results update. So far for Pennsylvania governor, John Shapiro, Democrat, is in the lead, 87%, followed by Douglas Mastriano, 11%. And for U.S. Senate, John Fetterman is in the lead, 83%, and he's beating Dr. Oz. I don't know anyone who's actually voting for Dr. Oz. I'm actually shocked he got up that high.
I don't know why you would vote for John Fetterman. His brain doesn't work.
I don't know why you would vote for either. Like, I was just like, wow. I don't like anyone running for Senate. Like, can we just, you know what, Pennsylvania, we don't need a representative in the Senate. Let's try again next year.
I love all the Republicans that think there's going to be a red tsunami.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah,
red wave coming. It's like, okay,
yeah.
Those are the results so far.
Moving a little bit further east, I've got a news story sent to me from Alex, gangrenously on Discord. Indiana Man, do you like Pokemon?
I do not.
Okay,
I liked it for like a few months when I was in 3rd grade.
A Rochdale officer may have wished he had a Pokeball in order to help him catch a wild Pikachu spotted driving a lawnmower recklessly through a small town Indiana streets on Halloween night. In what Rochdale Police Department assured was a first, an officer found himself in pursuit of a 19-year-old Rochdale citizen who decided to trick instead of treat and gave the police an all the pursuit's witnesses a night to remember. They were made aware of a man recklessly driving a modified lawnmower through the streets of Rochdale, and which is funny that there's a city called Rochdale.
That's pretty funny.
Southern John should move there. With a trailer in tow, while children dressed as ghosts and ghouls prowled the streets in pursuit of What is fucking editorializing this bullshit? Deputy located the erratic lawnmower driver, but quickly realized it was no ordinary driver. It was, in fact, the rare lawnmower Pikachu. The deputy attempted to pull the lawnmower over, but the man dressed as Pikachu responded with a shock by flipping off the deputy as he sped away as best he could. Police said the pursuit of the lawnmower of Pikachu went for a few blocks before the deputy broke off the chase due to driving of the lawnmower becoming more erratic and dangerous, even at one point attempting to hit the deputy's vehicle. They identified the suspect between the Pikachu garb, however, and later arrested him at his home. Alcohol or drugs were believed to have been a contributing factor in the antics.
Oh, you
Fucking
don't
shocker
say.
there. Yeah.
You know, a shocker, because Pikachu.
And finally, I have another one from Dad Cucks. A United States Air Force plane appeared to draw a sky penis near a Russian military base in Syria Tuesday night, Politico reported. The pilots of the Air Force's KC-135 Stratotanker looped near the base in Tartus, Syria, forming what looks like a men's genitalia on flight radar. According to RNN, I'm sorry, not Politico. Fuck Politico. It is unknown whether the flight vessel departed from Crete, Greece for refueling, or if the pilots were solely on a mission to prank Moscow's ground crew on the base, the outlet reported. Here is the image if you're watching the stream. If I can get that to focus on my phone.
That's funny.
Very clearly a penis. I love when planes draw
rocket
penises.
ship. It could be a rocket ship.
It looks like a giant Johnson. The maneuver drew attention of the Kiev Post, a Ukrainian news source, which tweeted, "The fake holiday that is gay came early. They must have meant Halloween and made a typo."
Oh, okay.
The Mediterranean has previously been a tension point between the U.S. Navy and Russian aircraft as they flew close to each other last February, at a time of heightened strain between the two countries before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin may aspire to dominate the Mediterranean one day, but for now, its aim is to deny this option to NATO, a Carnegie Endowment for International Peace report stated, according to RNN. I'm all for drawing more sky penises as long as we're blowing money on stupid shit with the military. Might as well draw some penises. That's really what it is. It's really America being like, we got a huge dick with all these nukes. And Russia's like, we got a huge dick with all our nukes, comrade.
We're never going to use them. And we haven't really won anything impressive in decades and decades and decades, but we could if we wanted to.
One of these days, Alice, one of these days.
We're the best. We're the strongest military ever. How'd Vietnam work out? That didn't count. We're the strongest ever. How the war and terror end? Don't worry about it. Don't ask.
Tony, I just want to say I support our troops, and I really don't like you demeaning their sacrifices, especially Tony. Yeah. So close to Veterans Day. You son of a bitch. Your people fought with Hitler. All right. My people
sides. We turned around.
My people have fought against the Queen endlessly. And you know what happened? Now she's dead.
Good. Look. I support the troops. I just don't like the people who send them out to stuff that they don't have to go to. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. That's all. And Italy did okay. That was a different regime.
Mistakes were made.
Look. Let he who is without participating in horrible genocides throw the first stone. Okay.
Okay. My people haven't participated in a horrible genocide.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right.
Anyway, well, this has been
the Ricada News Network. Definitely not fake news.
And that takes care of our legal obligations this week, Tony. But you know what doesn't take care of?
What's that?
Buying all that discounted Halloween candy. And if you want to help us with that, you can visit us at patreon.com/HWIDG, which stands for
Here's What I Don't Get,
which is the name of the show. And over there we have 5 tiers. We have the $1 tier, which gets you access to each week's episode, plus our monthly minisodes. We have our $2 tier. We throw the random bits and bobs we do. Tim and I did a review of Halloween Ends this month, or last month, I guess.
I did that too. Just real quick, good or bad? Where did you land on it? That's where I thought you would land on it.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
Well, I got a whole review on it, but long story short, I sat there and I just went, well, I could see what they were trying to do, but they were too afraid to commit to it, and whatever. That was
Yeah.
it. That
They
was
should have ended with the 2018 movie. 2018
really-
movie was perfect.
It really should have. It really should. Again, I appreciate them trying to do something, but they couldn't. They got too scared to do it. But
Yeah.
anyway, keep going.
Themes over substance. We have our $5 tier. We do a monthly bonus episodes. Here's what I do get, which sounds shockingly like these episodes this month. We have our
Yeah.
$10 tier where you, the fan, submit a film. You vote on what film we watch. We watch, record a feature length commentary. And this December, I will be power watching enough commentaries to make up for the last year because I know we've been behind. Everything has been off the rails, but we're starting to regain normalcy.
Yeah.
Um,
I should join in on a few of those.
That is the
It's been a
plan.
while since we did one. The last one we did was Cats. That was a great one.
Oh, that's right, Cats. Yeah.
That was a great one.
And then finally, we have our $50 Spite Producer tier, where you get a say in the show. You can demand a special bonus episode. You can ask for special bits here and there. I got to tell you, I have a couple of Spite Producer requests that are coming up.
Okay.
We've got one for next week that Tim and I are going to be doing. We have a Spite Producer request for an episode with Joel and Buck hosting the show with a very, 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 very special guest.
Okay.
That's going to be coming up probably in December. And then I've got another one that I'm trying to find a good episode to slide it into. That's like a callback to a simpler time. So
Okay.
If you're a Spite Producer, get your request in. We're taking care of them. That is why we're doing No Hate Novembers, because of our Spite Producers. And I just want to say thank you to all our patrons, big and small. You helped make the show possible. We would have ended at 300, and now we're at 311. So thank
Awesome.
you everybody for supporting the show. And let's get back into some issues.
Yes.
Because here's what I do get:
Okay.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Nerd.
Some people call Star Trek Deep Space Nine the best Star Trek series, and I don't think they're wrong, but I think they're not right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Like I know where they're coming from. It's a good show. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's the best. I think that maybe there was a time where Star Trek Deep Space Nine was the best, right?
Mhm.
But I think Star Trek Deep Space Nine planted too many seeds that grew into a cancer that has since killed the franchise.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like it was your favorite and then Lower Decks came out and you were like, well, this clearly wins.
No. Number one,
Oh,
including
did I say Lower Decks? I meant Picard. You were real into Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard. No, so like Star Trek Deep Space Nine was kind of, that was a risk. In the early 90s, Star Trek TNG was doing very well. They had just taken the like formula of the original series. They had standardized a little bit more, and they had a lot better production values, and they were making a show that was very successful.
Yeah.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine was like, what if we had a show that was not set on a Star Trek spaceship or the Federation spaceship, instead like on an alien ship? What if instead of going somewhere new every week, they were just on the same fucking place every week? What if instead of Keiko being a bit character that showed up in maybe 3 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, she was on every fucking episode? And you know, all these things, they were like, what ifs, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And you know, it was a risk. They took a chance. They tried to do something different than what we were seeing, and it was critical thinking says no, that was the start of the end. Kind of a good analysis of it. But they were trying to do something new, but they were also trying to do something that like applied to the rules. And I think largely it was a great success. Now, sure, Star Trek series about like a never-ending war. You know, that was you can go either way, but
Yeah.
I think what Star Trek Deep Space Nine succeeds on are the characters, because it is probably the only series where there's not a regular that you're just like, this person is beyond fucking annoying. Now, Keiko, maybe, but she
Mhm.
was only like a quasi regular. You know, TNG had Wesley Crusher.
Yeah.
Enterprise had Malcolm McDowell and Donald or whatever the fucking the engine officer. Um, Star Trek Voyager had Neelix.
Oh,
You know,
Neelix sucked.
they all had like these terrible characters, and Deep Space Nine didn't have that. And
Mhm.
what's more is they had characters that really learned and grew. One of my favorite plot threads of Deep Space Nine is Nog. You know, he starts out as this like fucking kid who is just obnoxious, who's paired up with Jake. That's the other crazy thing. TNG had a kid on the show, fucking beyond annoying.
Yeah.
And Deep Space Nine is like, our show stars 2 kids. You're just like, are you fucking for real? And they somehow made Jake a really interesting character, and they made Nog an even more interesting character. So he starts out as this like obnoxious kid who believes all the like stupid Ferengi bullshit, and he's just like, they just cause mischief. And then they evolve him over the series, and there's an episode where he goes to Cisco. He wants to give him like his entire life savings to buy an apprenticeship into Starfleet. And Cisco gives him the job of doing an inventory of a cargo bay that they've already inventoried, but he wants to see if Nog's going to like fuck around. And he doesn't. And then he's still like, no, Nog, I'm not going to sign your thing unless you tell me why you want to join Starfleet. And Nog breaks down. It's just like, my father could have been an amazing engineer, but he didn't do it because he was tied to doing profit. And I don't want to end up a failure like him. And it was just like, while he respects his father and he loves his father, he also knows that he has to fix the problems of his, like, he can't follow the same path. And so he has to forge his own way. And then he goes through the Starfleet Academy and he becomes an officer. And like, he has this amazing character arc over the entire series. And then you have like his foil in Jake Sisko. It's just like, Jake, your father's in Starfleet. You're going to go into Starfleet. And he's like, no, Dad, I want to be an author. I want to write.
Yeah.
And there's not an episode where he's just like, I'm disappointed in you for being a writer, son. It's like, that's another great part about Deep Space Nine is that father-son relationship, which you also don't see is a single black father with a son and a single black father doing everything he can to be a good father. Like, that is not an example that exists in media widely. And Star Trek is like, yeah, we're doing that shit in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then they have the fucking audacity to come in and be like, Michael Burnham is the first black person that's ever been in Star Trek before.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. That was
She's
weird.
so fun. I'm like, are you, what the fuck?
Dude, that's like a thing that's been happening a lot lately. Like, what you call it? Some people in the cast of Shang-Chi, and they're just like, it's great to finally have Asian superheroes. And it's just like, what? I'm like, people were like, well, I grew up with the Power Rangers and that lady died. And I think you're being disrespectful to that dead lady.
Yeah,
she was a superhero.
we just kind of like, we're like, yeah, that doesn't count for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. You have like a love affair with the Odo and Kira. You have the just like heartbreaking love story of Worf and Jadzia.
Yeah, I was just say, yeah. So I watched it a little bit when I was a kid. It's one of the like, eventually I do want to go back and watch like all of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. It's just a matter of finding time. But I remember really enjoying Deep Space Nine when I did watch. I love seeing the Ferengi. They were awesome. The episodes I remember the most are obviously the time travel, the one where they travel to the Trouble with Tribbles. I remember that one.
Trials and Tribulations.
Yes, that one's a good one. And I'm pretty sure it's Deep Space Nine. Didn't Q show up for like one episode and he just got his ass kicked by Cisco and then he was just like, I'm out.
It's in the first season.
That's
Cisco
one of my favorites.
punches him right in the face, and then he doesn't appear in Deep Space Nine ever again. He's all over Voyager.
Yeah, I went to a stand-up comedy thing, and a guy had a whole bit on that thing. He's like, he's like, Q is just this fucking asshole that fuck around. He showed up in Deep Space Nine once, and Cisco beat the shit out of him. He's like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm good. I'm gonna fuck around with those guys.
There's the whole interesting stuff about the whole Bajoran religion and like the social critique of our, just religion in general, specifically like a religion that has issues regarding the nose. The crazy thing about Deep Space Nine, right, is you have this one group that's a species that's like nothing. They're super greedy. They want nothing but profit. And like that's their whole deal. And then you have this other group that's like super religious, and they have like a nose thing going on, and they're like very dedicated and hard set to their rules, despite like there being science that disproves their bullshit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like maybe there's something going on there that hasn't been fully explored by people, and what the parallels in modern society might be. But I wouldn't want to go too deep into that because then I'd probably be deplatformed from my banks and every fucking social media on earth.
I don't know what you could be referring to. I don't listen to the news or anything except for when people represent themselves apparently. So I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, it's a great series. They inherit the Worf character from TNG, and I think they do way more with Worf than TNG ever really did.
That I remember being a kid, like I really liked seeing Worf on that show, like away from like Picard and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, seeing him away from where every alien could just punch him across the room.
Yeah.
It's just like it's start to finish a really, really strong series. A couple of years ago, I made a Star Trek watch list for Tim, and it started out with like Tim wanted TNG, but only about half of it, and then he would watch and he ended up watching the entire series. And then I was like, oh yeah, I made this list for my friend if you want it. And a couple people were like, oh, well, can you do one for Voyager? Can you do one for Deep Space Nine? Can you do one? So I ended up just doing the whole franchise.
Yeah.
And when I was reflecting on Deep Space Nine, like so many of the episodes are intertwined. Like there are these threads that get started in one episode and then they like, some of them will thread through the entire series. And
I've had friends talk about that before. Like it's hard to make like a best of because it's so like connected for Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
So what I made was a Star Trek Deep Space Nine don't watch list because there are a few episodes that just kind of like don't add to anything. And the way to go is to just delete those from your watch through. And even then there's only like a handful of episodes across the whole series. It's not like TNG where you can like pick and choose and just go like any episode with Loxana Troy, no need to watch it. Any episode that focuses on Deanna Troy, no need to watch it. Any episode that focuses on Beverly Crusher, 90% chance, don't need to watch it. Like watch the Data episodes, watch the Riker episodes, watch the Picard episodes, watch the Worf episodes, maybe watch the Geordi episodes. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that's what you watch in TNG. But in Deep Space Nine, like, and also they were very good about episodes weren't necessarily like this is an episode about Data. You know, it was like there's an episode, we've got a plot thread going on with Jake and Nog, we got a plot thread going on with like Cisco and Kira, and we've got a plot thread going on with like Jedzi and Odo solving a mystery. And how those play together was the interplay because they didn't have the hey, get off that table. Because they didn't have the interplay of being able to go somewhere or like introducing new characters. Like the universe had to come to them.
I like that. I like that.
The other interesting thing about that series is the whole Dominion War. Like some people don't. I think Star Trek Enterprise got very dark in its third season, and Deep Space Nine like broaches on the darkness, but it tried to keep the positivity and like forward thinkingness of that Star Trek is supposed to represent.
Yeah.
And so they have the whole Dominion War saga that happens over the course of seasons. And like that shows didn't do that before. You didn't have stories that unfolded over seasons. Like the last eight or nine episodes of Deep Space Nine is basically like one gigantic movie.
Yeah.
That once
it's like a whole battle, right?
Well, it's battles. There's momentum. You cannot, once you get to that eighth to last episode, there's no more little one-offs. It's just the final story of the final days of the Dominion War. And that's all you can do. And, there are people that the thing that I dislike about Deep Space Nine is that there are people that they're like, oh, the best episode of Deep Space Nine is In the Pale Moonlight. And don't get me wrong. It's a good episode. It's an interesting story. There's lots of twists and turns. Not the best episode of Deep Space Nine. And more specifically is that it is a compromise of the like spirit of Star Trek to make those concessions that Cisco does in that episode. And it also is, it's bad in that you cannot just watch In the Pale Moonlight. Like everyone sucks the Inner Light's dick in TNG. They're just like, oh, the Inner Light, best episode TNG. But you can just sit down and watch the Inner Light, and you're like, all right, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Versus, like, if you watch In the Pale Moonlight, you're just like, what? They have to get the Romulans to fight who? What? There's a battle about what's a wormhole?
I don't know who any of these people are, or what they're
Like,
doing, or
hold
what's
on,
at stake.
let me get my Glenn Beck chalkboard over here, and I'll like explain to you all of the aspects of inner space politics that lead into the Dominion War. Like, it's a fine episode, but it also like compromises the ideals of Star Trek. The episodes of Deep Space Nine that I love are the episodes where characters learn to be better. There's an episode in the first season of Deep Space Nine called Duet, and this Cardassian, there's a ship docks at the station. There's an emergency. This person has Kalanora disease or something like that that only came from this one work camp during the Cardassian occupation called Galatep. And then Kira goes to meet the person because, you know, she thinks it's a Bajoran. It turns out to be a Cardassian. He says he's Eamon Maritza. Then they think he's Gul Darhe'el. Then there's like this whole unfolding of the mystery of Gul Darhe'el, Eamon Maritza. And it's just like Kira has to confront like her hatred of Cardassians, but her also need for true justice. And at the end of the episode, we find out that it is actually, in fact, Eamon Maritza, who surgically had himself altered to look like Gul Darhe'el and came to Deep Space Nine to be caught, to be held trial by the new Bajoran government. So the Cardassian would have to face the evils that they did during the Cardassian occupation.
That's a pretty good twist.
Yeah. And then it turns out that he's like not this person. And Kira's like, no, we have to let you go. It's not fair. And he's like, no, Bajor needs justice. And so she's walking him to the airlock, and another Bajoran stabs and kills him. And she grabs the Bajoran and she says, but he's not Gul Darhe'el. And the other Bajoran says, but he's a Cardassian. It doesn't matter. And she says, yes, it does. And she's learned something.
Yeah.
She as a character has grown over the course of this episode.
A character arc, like they changed from how they started. Oh my God.
Yeah. And and then there's another great Kira has a lot of great episodes. There's another episode late in the first season where they're mining the core. They're like getting the molten core of this moon to power Bajor. And Kira goes to this farm. This guy won't like evacuate the farm because he escaped the occupation and made this farm himself and all this stuff. And she ends up having to, he has this, he's like going to build this kiln. She helps him build this kiln. She's like, she wants to be the rebel, but then in the end, she ends up like phasering him and taking him, kidnapping him from the planet for his own good. And she has to be like a part of the government. She just learned those things. And so like you watch those episodes and like, that is what Star Trek is about. It's about duty. It's about honor. It's about doing the right thing. And the episode Duet is so good. It's based on a play called The Man in the Glass Box, which is the story is about a man.
I've heard of that one before. Yeah.
He pretends to be a Nazi colonel who ran a camp, who he gets himself arrested and taken to the trials in Nuremberg. And then the people are like, no, he isn't actually a Nazi.
Yeah.
And the episode Duet was so good that I bought that play and read it. And I hate fucking reading plays. I only read plays if I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
I work in theater, but I only read shows if I'm getting paid. I bought that. I have it somewhere. I read the fucking thing. It's not as good as Duet.
You're like, no one goes to space once in this play. Nuremberg couldn't be on the moon? What the fuck?
Yeah, so like Deep Space Nine is about kind of confronting those evils. There's a lot more interesting story in there. There are characters that are fascinating. It has its weak parts. It has its strengths. It's something like anybody who considers them a Star Trek fan, you should watch it start to finish.
Yeah. You know the one thing I liked for Trials of Tribulation, they figured out a great way to shut everyone up about the goddamn Klingon foreheads. because you know,
Yeah,
we
we
know
don't
the real.
speak of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we know the real reason. It's like, oh, by the time they started making movies, they were like, hey, what if they actually look like aliens and not like space Mongolians? Like maybe we'll actually like make them look like an alien.
Yeah, what if they
Uh,
look like aliens instead of being guys in blackface?
Yeah, like why don't we do that? And then like I just love where he just goes, oh yeah, we don't speak about it, and that was great. And they never needed to explain it. And I think Enterprise explained it. They're like, it's some virus that makes our heads smooth, and it's like, no one cares. No one cares that much.
My problem with the explanation of the Klingon virus, right, is that like seasons 1 through 3 of Enterprise are just filler, and then season 4 they were like, let's fucking tell Star Trek stories.
Yeah.
And so like the beginning of season 4, they do this three episode arc called it's like the Augments, and it's about these embryos from the eugenics wars that were taken by an ancestor of Noonien Soong, who makes Data, which is fucking stupid, by the way.
Yeah.
And he raises those kids on a planet by himself, and then he gets arrested. And then those kids get off the planet and they like attack a Klingon ship, and then they have the Klingon ship. And then so that was a good episode. It was a good little arc. It was fine, not good, not great, whatever.
Yeah.
Then later in that same season, the Klingons kidnap Phlox to solve this virus that's hitting all these Klingon colonies, and you find out it's because the Klingons were experimenting with augmented DNA to try and make themselves stronger. And the cure for the virus ends up taking away the forehead ridges of the Klingons.
Yeah.
Now, if you had told the augment story in like season 1, and then in season 4 the Klingon augment story had happened, it would be like, what a crazy twist. But since they were both in the same season, it's like, yeah, 6 weeks ago we ran into these clones, and now we have this terrible problem.
Yeah, if it was a problem that like formed over time. But I don't know, like whenever I look at it, I'm like what you call it? The Klingon planet, it could just be big. It's like, oh yeah, if you're from this part of the planet, you don't have the forehead ridges. It's like, okay, whatever. Who really cares, really?
Yeah, but again, you're right. They could have just stuck with, we don't speak of it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love about the fucking episode Trials and Tribulations, right, is that so they took the series back to the original series. They took Deep Space Nine, which has like pretty good production values.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, well, the original series kind of looks like shit because it was made in the 60s and it's just like bejeweled buttons with backlights on the consoles and the doors are like all Technicolor. So let's update it and just tell a story that's in the original series. They worked with such precision and care to perfectly recreate those sets and edit the new characters into old footage and make it all look exactly as it did, thus canonizing the idea that for whatever reason in the early mid 2300s Starfleet looked like shit for some reason.
Everything looked like shit. Well, I mean, you ever look at anything in the past? Like I went to a few years ago, I went to like a diving museum, like a deep sea diving museum. And what I learned is until like, I don't know, like 50 years ago, everything we made to deep sea dive was a fucking death box that looked horrible. Like it was just like, it's like, oh, no reasonable person would have ever gotten into this to go to the bottom of the ocean because clearly it was going to fail at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a while for things to look at old cars. They all look stupid and goofy. So
they all look awesome and incredible, and we just have all these shitty boxes. It's like Deep Space Nine was the golden era of Star Trek. I mean, we went 25 years. No, we went 19 straight years with like Star Trek being on TV.
Yeah.
From 3 seasons in the 60s, 4 movies, and then 19 years of just like Star Trek. It's always on.
Oh, and a cartoon. There was a cartoon.
Yeah, we don't speak of that. It's not technically canon. I recommend Deep Space Nine. I will say it challenges the conventions of Star Trek. I will say it has its flaws, but it is absolutely worth watching. There are a lot of great characters. Cisco is a great character. And that's the other thing. Like when Star Trek Discovery came out, they're like, it's the first black female lead. It's the first lead that's not a captain. Like Cisco was black and not a captain in the first fucking 3 seasons of the show.
That's pretty disrespectful.
And Janeway was the first woman captain and lead, and you just be like, yeah, well, here's like another. We're gonna just like that's what they keep doing. They keep just adding categories, and it's just like it's the first black female lead that's under 30. That's a show that's not a commander or higher that also was born in the in a March of a leap year. You're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Is that like when you say you're like a New York Times best-selling author or Amazon best-selling author, but then like you leave out that it's in like the self-help section, and you went toe to toe with like a fucking Cesar Millan book? Is it kind of like that?
It is almost exactly like that. It's a lot like when you're the #1 in comedy on iTunes without acknowledging the fact that nothing is like selling in the comedy section on iTunes. I've been the #1 in comedy on iTunes 3 times.
Is it like being in a Batman movie, but you can't see anyone, but you brag about it? Is it kind of like that?
No, it's not like that at all. That's something you should be proud of.
Yeah. I agree. I strongly agree.
So anyway, that's my do get Deep Space Nine. See if you can figure out what the theme is on my do gets this month. I bet you can't do it. I bet you can't do it.
Well, you know what? I like what you said earlier about Star Trek being on TV. I think Star Trek works best on TV, with few exceptions. Some of the movies are really good. But yeah, this must be like a second golden age for you with all these Star Trek TV shows, right?
I will literally fight you.
I do like that. What's it called? Star Trek Discovery. They were like, yes, we have a non-white person leading the show, whatever. And then they're just like, oh, by the way, we're also doing Picard. It's about an old white guy. It's like, okay, well, you guys really patted yourself on the back for not doing that, and then you did literally the opposite.
Like, oh yeah, we have our show that's about it's like a totally new original thing. She's the sister of Spock. You remember Spock? And then
is that what it is?
We're doing this show about Picard. Remember Picard? And now we're in season 3, and they're like, we're bringing back all the TNG people. Like,
wait, is Spock's brother canon? Is he there?
I think I think they're putting him in something.
Oh,
I seem to remember there being so the thing is, like, I stopped watching all of those Fandom Menace guys because they're just so fucking boring.
They ran out of ran out of steam.
Doomcock here from the center of the universe. I'm here to talk to you about the new thing in fucking media bullshit.
Dude,
now I'm gonna ramble on for 22 minutes about like 15 seconds of video material, and I'm so upset. Like, stop watching Star Trek, stop watching Marvel, stop watching Star Wars, you fucking loser.
Dude, it's like the Gamergate thing where it's like a lot of those guys, they got big off that, and then they couldn't like Medicare did, but Medicare like turned it into something else.
Don't you fucking mention that fucking cancer-ridden piece of shit on this show, Tony. I fucking hate Jim Medicare more than anyone on this fucking planet. That fucking piece of shit wanted to lock you and me away in our homes because I'm dying from cancer. I'm dying from cancer. I'm too much of a pussy to show my fucking face on the internet. I'm dying of cancer. You need to stay home. Fuck you. You're still not dead, you fucking faggot.
Whoa. Disavow that word.
You fucking disavow all kinds of shit. I will fucking fight you. I will fucking fight you, Medicare. I'm not like that fucking fat piece of shit Ethan Routh. I will fucking fight you, you fucking coward. Fucking keep me at home. I fucking hate that guy so much.
The point I was trying to make is, first off, disavow all of that. The point I was trying to make is that there were people who were able to like get popular off of that and then turn it into something else.
Yeah, now they grift for cancer money on the internet. It's incredible.
But then there were other people like your Monday Mats and whatnot, and your whatchamacallit, who's the other Sargons and whatnot. They just did the same thing. And now we're seeing it with the Phantom Menace, where it's like, okay, yeah, Last Jedi really sucked. Do you want to talk about anything else?
Yeah, this new She-Hulk series is bad. Like,
okay.
Thanks for doing 10 episodes on it.
But it's like, they make other things. You can watch other things. Like, I've been annoyed with like a lot of these big franchise stuff, and I'm just like, oh, hey, here's this new movie. It's not related to anything. I'm just gonna watch that, and I'm like, oh, that movie's good. Sometimes it sucks. Yeah, it's just I can't stand the Phantom Menace guys. Like, dude, I know you got to keep it up to like keep the money coming in, but like
keep
you gotta
hate money in. Yeah,
it's like you gotta like try to go in some other direction in case this fails, because.
Well, it's like
in
2016,
Sorry.
in 2016, the Angry Video Game Nerd, he put out that video that was like, I'm not going to review the Ghostbusters 2016 because it's
Yeah.
not a movie that's made for me. And people lost their fucking minds. They were like,
Yeah.
how can you know that it's not a movie made for you unless you watch it? And I was
Yeah.
like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
People are going to be, if you just don't acknowledge it, people are going to be like, why hasn't the nerd reviewed fucking Ghostbusters yet?
Yeah.
But like, if you're legitimately not interested in watching it or talking about it, like, are you gonna put yourself through that misery? No.
Yeah.
So him just being like, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not interested. It's not made for me. I'm whatever.
Yeah.
That was
That's
perfect.
That's why I'm not watching the Star Wars shows anymore. I was like, okay, look, I gave 3 of them a shot. One of them I only did because I had to review it. I was like, all right, I'll watch Mandalorian. I'm like, oh, well, this is boring and terrible. And everyone told me I was wrong. And then I watched Book of Boba Fett. I'm like, well, they kind of don't get Boba Fett. He's not really like a mob boss. And I'm like, well, that's terrible. And then I watched Obi-Wan and I was like, well, this is a fucking snooze fest. And then everyone's like, you got to watch Andor. And I'm like, no, I gave you guys 3 chances.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, I'm a fucking stupid.
What did George Bush say? Like, fool me, don't get fooled again. He like,
fool me, don't get fooled again. Yeah. Yeah,
George
like,
Bush. You know, it's funny. We're supposed to love George Bush now. I can't believe that's a thing. But anyway,
that's crazy. Yeah. No, it's like, yeah, you're exactly right. With those TV shows, they just keep being bad and they keep watching them. And at a certain point, my time is not worth like,
and I know
like one of those shows are like 10 hours. You gotta watch 10 hours of your life. Just think about whatever your job is. Like your job is, whatever. You get paid $15 an hour minimum wage. Is watching that show worth $150 to you? Think about what you could do with $150. Maybe it's a car payment. Maybe it's like your water bill, like whatever it is. Is the time you spend watching these miserable shows worth your car payment a month?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, that's my do get. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Great TV series. Maybe not the best in Star Trek, but
yeah.
That's what I got. So until next time, I'm Tab Burt.
I'm Tony from Hack the Movies, and I disavow everything.
Catch you next week. Boy, the internet really cut out on that fucking
yeah, it was real
outro
choppy.
music. That was terrible. Well, we got 2 voicemails here. Here's our first one. Oh, sorry. If you want to call into Here's Again Hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. It's scrolling on the screen down below right there. It just disappeared. Here we go.
Yeah, what I don't get is really long intros to TV shows. Like I'm watching The House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. Both have extremely long fucking minute-plus TV intros, and it's fucking infuriating. And funny enough, there's people, like I remember back when Game of Thrones was still a thing, we'd have watch parties, and it's like, oh, cool, we're going to skip that intro that's the same almost every fucking time. And he's like, no, it's different every season. And it's like, yeah, well, we're already on fucking, the 5th episode of this season. Can we please, for the love of Christ, skip 2 minutes of that bullshit? And if you want the perfect example, the best intro to a TV show, Breaking Bad. And the intro is probably already played in your head, and it's perfect, it's short, gets to the fucking point, and gets to the goddamn TV show.
Seinfeld doesn't even have an intro. It's just the stand-up bit, and then they got rid of that.
Then they got rid of it. Was season 9? They just got rid of that.
Season 8. I think it's season 8.
Yeah. No. I was gonna say Breaking Bad. It's 15 seconds.
Yeah.
The Better Call Saul was a little long, but like that blues guitar was kind of rocking, so you could deal with it.
The intros don't bother me so much. The freaking Marvel shows, their outros are forever long. Like they're like because their shows were clearly meant to be movies that they stretched out into shows, but they didn't have enough material. So like the closing credits of those shows are ridiculous. It's like, what the fuck why is this so long?
Well,
and
the
it's
other
like
thing
all beautifully animated, real slow, and it's like, just fucking show the credits, move on.
Yeah, because then they program it so you can't like go to the next episode until that whole
Yeah.
block. And then if the episodes that are newer, they have like all that, like every dub gets its own bank of credits. Like,
God, yeah.
I'm watching this in America. I do not give a single fuck about who dubbed this in Italian.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's a way you could figure out how to tack on that MP4 of just the super titles that you put on in China to the end of the English thing if you see that my IP address is coming from China. Like, I know it seems like a lot of work for one of your fucking interns to do, but please handle that for me.
But yeah, intros can be a little long.
There are some shows that have like really interesting intros that are captivating and you like watching them the very first time.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's why Netflix invented the skip intro button. So you just be like, no, thanks.
I mean, I will say the Peacemaker intro, that song got stuck in my head every single time. I couldn't skip it. But other than that, I usually just skip them.
Never watched it.
It was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't. John Cena is a shining, loving piece of shit.
I know that, but the show was fun.
This whole anti superhero fad that's going on is pisses me off beyond belief.
I get that, but I did have fun with Peacemaker. So
yeah, you know what I would have fun with?
What?
Punching that little manlet John Cena right in his fucking face. I should have done it. I had the opportunity. I ran to his bitch ass in the hallway, and I was like if you're watching the video, my microphone is John Cena's face.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. Fucking no see me. Bam. Right, you fucking stupid face. But I was afraid I was going to lose my job, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I should have done it because then I could have gotten that shitty job.
Well, listen, Tab, you could have punched him, and then when he took you to court, you could be like
representing myself.
You could be like your ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The prosecution often brags about how no one can see him. So how do we know it was him if he cannot be seen? I rest my case. I
was just gesturing. I could not see this man, and he's such a small, diminutive little fucking twink that his face just happens to be at where my arm extends out of my body because I'm like a normal sized human being.
But you get him on the stand. You're like, Mr. Cena.
Do you need an apple box for your feet not to
did
dangle?
people? No, you got to be like, Mr. Cena. Did people see you get punched? And when he says yes, be like, but don't you say that people cannot see you? I rest. Defense rest.
I rest my case. All right, we got one more from player 4.
Okay.
Hey Tab, this is Player 4. I don't know if you keep up with Larry's other show. You know, Larry from That Larry Show. He has another show called Planet Rage. He does it with some weenie.
Darren O'Neill.
It's a pretty bad show, but every once in a while I'll tune in to listen to it. And basically I'm calling because there's nowhere else I can rant about this. So Larry's all about being a lutfa. You know, leave us the fuck alone. You know, we don't stay here. But on one of his latest episodes on the second show, he's all, oh, we need to actually censor the liberals on social media so that way they know how it feels like and they can understand it. It's like the most boomer fucking take ever. Agree or disagree if you want to, right? But that's not exactly leave us the fuck alone material or a viewpoint to have. It's still censorship at the end of the day. You still want to silence what other people say. And then he's going on again about, I guess Trump said something about giving drug dealers the death penalty. And I was just like, what the fuck? But then him and his Weenie Hut Jr. co-hosts are sitting there agreeing with it. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. That's what's really ruining this country. It's just such a boomer fucking show. And they also talk about, they're all bought into this whole fentanyl thing and how people are sticking it on money and throwing it all over the place. Whatever. This is getting too long, but I don't know, not too lutful when you really dig into it, huh, Larry? See ya.
No, I agree. We're talking about groups that have gotten annoying because, I guess me and you consider ourselves like free speech people, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the free speech people have slowly become they're becoming radical religious and they want to censor things now too. And it's like, all right, they're just like, yeah, the whatever, we got to get this out here. We got to censor that. We got to censor that. And it's like, I thought we were all about free speech. Like, yeah, but only the stuff we like. It's like, don't we make fun of the other side about that all the time? So yeah, that's annoying. And yeah, the whole the whole like free speech stuff has turned into this like anti-drug super religious thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm not about this. I'm out of this.
I mean, that happened with like remember in the 90s when like the religious right was like, we gotta censor video games, we gotta censor what's on TV.
Well, that's the thing, they secretly came back.
Well, no, the thing is the left did it, and instead of just being like, no, this is a bad idea, like everyone wants to censor the people that they disagree with. Like I think we should let the liberals be on social media too. But when someone gets on there and calls them a cuck and a faggot for their stupid opinions.
Well, I don't agree with that. That we should censor. We should censor because I have a career on YouTube. But anyway,
when you like call that person names, you should also be able to just call them names. If they've got a problem with it, every fucking one of these platforms, every single fucking platform has a block button.
Yeah.
I don't like what you're calling me. Block button. Now I don't have to see it. You know, I block accounts. The only social media I have right now is Instagram.
Yeah.
Every fucking day, I'm like, it's like, oh, look at our Christmas bullshit. Right click, block. Right click, block. I don't want to see any of your fucking Christmas
I used to not
DIY
block
bullshit.
anyone. I used to not block anyone, but now it's just like some people are relentless. I had to block two fucking weirdos because I posted a picture with me and my niece, and I don't know. That was not the time for weird sexual humor, guys. Please don't reply to that.
Yeah.
Or do, and I'm just gonna block you. I'm just gonna block you. But I'm not like this whole website needs to be taken down, and oh my god, I'm like no, I don't really care that much.
I do take pleasure when like leftists get deplatformed for their own.
Oh yeah, I do like when they get their comeuppance, but I'm not the guy being like, you have to deplatform them.
You gotta get rid of them. Yeah, no, it's just funny. Critical Thinking says good stream apart from the Mr. Medicare part. He was wrong on one thing, and you hate him. I skipped the streams because it BS. I still like him overall.
Please, whatever rate you're about to go on, please use.
As soon as he fucking apologizes for trying to kill me, I'll fucking stop calling him a piece of shit. Or option 2 is he could drop dead.
Okay.
He's been dying of his terminal cancer now for 3 years. Kind of seems fucking scammy to me. Kind of seems like maybe this is my last stream, guys. Get your fucking super chats in. Kind of seems like bullshit.
It goes away and comes back.
Yeah, I bet it does. Maybe Mr. Medicare is Stuttering John's beloved chatter. That's about as real as that.
We're gonna find
as soon as he fucking apologizes, just like as soon as he's like, I was wrong, I didn't know shit about anything. You shouldn't have had to stay home and you shouldn't have lost your jobs because people like me were sick. I'll be like, hey, Jim, welcome to the land of not being a fucking retard for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I remember like when he was doing that. It's like, dude, it feels like you're a little personally invested in this, which is fine. But yeah, but anyway.
If Jim's afraid of getting sick, Jim can stay in his fucking house.
Yeah.
With his fucking no face showing pussy bullshit. He can fucking hide in his house.
You're allowed to hide your face. That's fine.
Yeah, if you're a coward. You fucking talk shit on the internet and you're like, I'm a hat with stars on it. Don't fucking talk to me.
Are you saying Batman is a coward?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, never mind.
I will fight Batman.
Okay. We were talking about this recently. The Batman you want to fight is the Michael Keaton Batman because he can't move his head. Actually, any of the 80s and 90s Batmans, all you have to do is run around them real quick and yank them down by the cape, and they're just fucked.
No, you want to fight Adam West Batman?
No, he's a little too mobile. He'll get you. He'll get you. The other guys are too heavy. They can't turn real quick, and you can yank them down by the cape. Their rubber suits are going to make it too heavy for them to jump up. You just shoot him in the face.
Adam West Batman pulls his punches, so he's like going to come at you, and he's going to be like, it's going to be telegraphed, and then you dodge it, and you just right in the nuts. He's got no armor on of any kind. It's just like Adam West's 40-year-old pudgy body underneath that spandex suit. You're just like, nut shot, stomach shot, face shot, done. Defeated Batman.
Oh my god.
And don't get me wrong, I love Adam West Batman, best Batman.
He's good. He's great.
Number one, I'd put him over any other Batman.
Me and him and Jeremy Irons all have the same birthday. We were all in Batman movies.
Yeah.
We're basically the same person.
Although I think the one you really want to fight is Robert Pattinson because he's a little twink. Anyway.
I think it was fine, but yeah.
I didn't see that movie. I'm so uninterested in Batman origin stories.
It's it's not even really an origin. It's just like this is what he was doing the first year into his crime fighting.
Yeah, I know.
That's kinda-
I saw Batman Year One. I read the comic book like
Yeah,
15
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just tell
I
me a
thought it
story
was,
where Batman defeats
but-
bad guys.
my only issue with it was way too fucking long, and the story did not warrant that long of a runtime. Like you could have tightened this up a little bit. Holy shit! But anyway,
I saw this thing on Instagram. It was like a guy dressed as the Riddler, and he had this riddle for you. What starts with an E and ends with an E and only contains a single letter?
what?
Call in and leave us your voicemail if you know the answer to this riddle. 704-750-9434. Tell us what you don't get or the answer to our riddle. It's a really easy. I can't believe you don't know it. But anyway, that's our episode. Those are our voicemails. I thought there was a voicemail upload, but maybe someone uploaded and then de-uploaded because I had a notification and now it's not here.
Huh.
So anyway, we'll catch you next week.
All right. Goodbye.